It takes about 1,000 different types of clever to make a successful company. Hi, I'm Kit Cox. I'm founder and CTO of Enate.
I guess there's generative AI and agentic stuff underneath that. Where are you? Where are people?
Culture is the most important thing that you can create as a founder.
What's the scale of the business?
We're about 100 people. We are split between the UK and India. So growth, we're growing at about 40% YOY at the moment.
Fabulous. Do you have an end game? Yacht, Bahamas?
Have a here is my absolute goal, because actually I enjoy the process.
Unless you've got the relationship with the client and you can tell them that their team are the problem, then the project's doomed.
Being honest can be a deeply uncomfortable conversation, but it is the conversation that then leads to amazing success. Hi, I'm Kit Cox. I'm founder and CTO of Enate. I'm a manufacturing engineer by background and education. I'm a software engineer by hobby and then career. And I founded Enate to build an orchestration platform to help B2B services companies be amazing. Yeah, and that's what we do right now. We help B2B service providers create amazing services powered by AI and human workforce.
How long have you been around?
Oh, a while. So it's an overnight success. So,
well, I mean, pre-AI.
So actually we found, there'd really been 3 lives to the business. Yeah. There was a first life after I founded it, where we essentially just did a bunch of bespoke stuff with assorted clients, but actually ended up doing more with a bunch of outsourcing providers. Then we got to a point where we went, actually, we can build a product for BPO service providers. So we built the first product in 2011 or so, which was about automating service delivery, but in quite a narrow space. And then in 2016, 17, as we started to see the first little corners of AI really start to bubble, and more of that as still somewhat deterministic automation, that's when we pivoted the business, built a new product to support service delivery much more widely, and the rest, they say, is history.
And what's the impact of AI? What is the impact of AI? And I'm thinking, I suppose, more generative AI on your automation, because I just think one of our clients does a lot of outsourcing based in the Philippines, and certainly this is something top of the mind with them. Historically, give me a person and the person can do some stuff. The person can't actually do any stuff until you've mapped the process and you know what the data flow is. Then you can automate some of that, and then I guess there's generative AI and agentic stuff underneath that. Where are you? Where are people?
So I see every service anywhere in the world kind of in 3 stages. The first stage of delivering any service is, as a service provider, figure out which of the services you provide your customer is asking you to deliver.
Right.
Then go and get the data together to deliver that service. And then finally, JFDI, just do it.
Yeah.
Now, the last stage of that, the just do it bit, you already know what you're doing and you've got the data together. At that point, you're into classical do the next kind of automation. But the first 2 stages, where you're trying to figure out what the customer's asking you to do, and you're trying to assemble the data, which might be wholly, you might be needing to get extra bits of it from the customer, that's a space where humans do an awful lot of that in service delivery at the moment, because you're dealing with the vagaries of what your customer sent you. But actually, that's the space where AI really does come to play. Yeah, because actually we can use AI now quite effectively to deal with whatever vagueness your customer has sent you in the first place.
Okay.
So that's where we're really starting to deploy it.
Excellent. That's what people used to call fuzzy logic. Which, when anyone said that this is a fuzzy logic engine, and then it just didn't do anything sensible.
Yeah, yes.
And now we can. Fab. Look, before we dive into other stuff, what I'd love to do is find out from you what 5 things that you think are true that other people don't, or vice versa, 5 things that you think other people think are true and you think is a load of codswallop.
Okay, so these are some things that I think are true that not necessarily everyone agrees with. Yeah,
okay.
So one is that culture is the most important thing that you can create as a founder, and without it, everything else is meaningless.
Okay.
Nice.
The
second is the successful long-term customer relationships are based on brutal and radical honesty, not fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
A third is, and this is more reflecting on growing our business, is that it takes about 1,000 different types of clever to make a successful company. And actually, we only test about 2 of them when we're in education.
Okay.
I think that's a really useful thing to understand, that certainly if you come through and you're quite successful in the education world, you don't necessarily think about that on the way through.
Okay.
And the last one is...
Oh, no, that's only 4. This is only 4. Go on, give me another one. 4.
So 4th is that you will pay the highest salaries in your business to the people who learned their skills in drama lessons at school.
Okay. Right. And 5th, have you got a 5th?
And I'll give you a 5th one, which is this is where are we going? What's the future going to look like? What could the future look like? And it's about 2 things that, one, I think will become a thing of the past, and the second is a thing that I think should become a thing of the past. One that I think will is lawyers in the classic sense of lawyers. I think that is a profession that will not be there in anything like its current guise within the next 10 years. And the second is IT departments in the shape that IT departments have been for many, many years. I think that is something that should not need to exist.
I love that.
In the mid-distance.
Great. I mean, it's fab. We'll get into each of those, right?
Yeah.
Before we do,
cool. There you go.
Let me just that's fab. Let's quickly, Enate, where are you at? What's the scale of the business?
So scale of the business, we're about 100 people. We are split between the UK and India. So we've got about 40 people in the UK, about 60 in India. Most people follow that with a question of, so is that development that you've got in India? Actually, no, because we sell to service providers, we have a bit of everything in each country. Yeah, okay. So we sell to Indian service providers. Yeah, so some of the biggest service providers in the world are in India. We have some marketing in India because we market there and we market here. We have, yes, some engineering in India, but we also have some engineering here. So actually, we have got a bit in both countries, but we actually tend to act as one big team. Yeah.
Okay. Fab.
So that's the scale that we're at.
Which is unique. That's profit center in India, not just a cost reduction center in India.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And
revenue wise,
we're growing
we're growing at about 40% YOY at the moment. Have been for the last few years. We are
fabulous.
Yeah, we got to profitable last year, which is a lovely place to be.
Yeah.
We did an investment round with Scottish Equity Partners last year, which allowed us to clean up and give an exit to some investors who'd invested in the earlier lives of the business. Which was great. So gave them a lovely exit, and actually that's put us in great shape to go on into the next stage. So we did that at well over 30 million in TV, and we're off to the races there.
And what's your current revenue then?
So our sales are currently, so our annual repeat revenue is about 6 at the moment.
Okay, 6 million.
Yeah.
Right, fab. 40% year over year. Fab. Magic.
It's
And
quite
break
nice.
even. Yes.
Yeah.
And do you have plans to raise more money, or do you just think from this point it's organic and you're going to be good?
No, from this point, it's the thing of actually get to break even. So we took a little bit of primary capital in, but that's really mostly to support the balance sheet, making sure we're stable and sturdy. We're investing a little bit ahead in R&D and a little bit ahead in go to market, but we're not at the hose through loads of investment to grow. We can keep growing at that kind of rate quite happily without needing to take in more capital.
Fab. And do you have is there an end game? Yacht, Bahamas, yacht, or is it just just keep saving the world?
So you know what? I don't have a here is my absolute goal. Because actually I enjoy the process.
Yeah.
I enjoy being in the business. I enjoy taking pride in growing the team that we have and working with the team and seeing how that's shaped over time. I enjoy all of that. So we will do another financial event in 3 to 5 years time. And realistically, that will be one where probably I end up stepping back more from all things day to day, because I'll be getting quite old.
Okay, let's dig into some of these. Culture's the number one thing that a founder needs to focus on, which is interesting because before you were the CEO, you were the CTO, and so it's extreme, and also it's extreme. Normally, people who come out the technical side of the house are less concerned about the culture as long as we turn the lights off and let them sit in the dark.
So some of it comes from experience of being in an organization with a bad culture. Yeah.
Okay.
And realizing that if you're going to found something, and that you might as well do it in a way that you want it to be, and to create an environment that you want to be in, and then you hope other people want to be in, and you create an environment that allows people to be the best of themselves. So trying to think about that deliberately, I thought was important at the point that we were really starting to grow. Yeah. Because a culture will form. Yeah, a culture is a thing. Yeah, it will form, and the question is whether you try and form it deliberately or you just let it happen.
Yes,
and you actually only get to shape it. I think you only get to shape it really when you're at that first 40 employees stage.
Totally agree.
And beyond that, it's up to them to shape what comes next. Yeah.
Yes.
So actually, that's why. Whereas actually, you will continue to shape your product all throughout the life of the business. You will continue to shape your processes all throughout the life of the business. I think it's one of the hardest things to change because it's about changing behaviors and expectations, and ultimately about sometimes changing the people. Is changing the culture.
I was looking at, there was an article the other day which was sort of a meta-analysis of culture change, and the article basically said, if your culture has formed, you're a bit knackered, and changing it's really hard. Now, I think it's hard without drastic action. One of the case studies I've got is from a friend of mine, Moira Clark, who's head of customer experience at Henley Management College, and she did some work for one of the banks, and they took the best performing branch and the worst. They moved the boss over, made no difference. He had to take a third of his team with him to get a tipping point. And actually, Malcolm Gladwell's new book, Revenge of the Tipping Point, has this sense that you have to have a third of the people who are on the bus. But much easier to, because what I see founders giving up, like delegating hiring before they've got to your 40. In my world, I think of 50, it's similar thing, right? It's like, make sure every single one of those people, make sure every single one of those people you'd be happy to give a kidney for, right? And if you weren't, like, it's like, because once you've got person. It, once you get to 100 and you look back and go, oh shit, 60 other people have sort of sneaked in and they're not right. Man, and you're growing at 40% a year. It's like, it's just so painful to try and even get your head around how we might unwind that.
Yeah.
So,
it is. So that, and try and keep it simple and articulatable how you want to create it. Yeah. And so how you hire and who you hire and all sorts of things.
So what are some of the things that you've done that, notwithstanding the hiring, that you've put in place to cement the culture?
So we boiled it down to talking about a set of values. Yeah. Firstly. And that's not a trite set of values. I think lots of organisations talk about values, and it's kind of a trite thing that's a look. Here's some lipstick that we're slapping on our pig. But we started talking about that set of values of simplicity, openness, being a self-starter, being a superhero, being part of a team. We started talking about those years ago, and we still talk about exactly those now. And I will sit down with every new joiner and we will have an hour talking about them and going through them. And then the key thing is then living them every day. So trying to demonstrably live them. Yeah. So how do we demonstrably live openness? Everyone in the company gets our board report, for example.
Okay.
Yeah. So the board pack,
tick.
Yeah. Everyone gets that every month, and we talk through it at one of our monthly all hands meetings. We go, right, here's what we're going to go through. We don't go through it in exactly the way that we do with board, but we go through explaining why there is stuff in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And why it's important.
And teaching some financial literacy to the organization, which I think is important. I think the data is that if you stop the man on the street, they believe that limited companies have a 30% net profitability, which is, if only that was true, when most companies are 5%. And they also believe the CEOs are multi-millionaire. So, we've done a lot of work with clients over the years with that.
Yeah, it's that's an example of one of them. But if you create an environment that allows other people to hold you account against those values, So if somebody says to me, "Well, that's not very simple what you're proposing there," that is perfectly legit feedback, and anybody in the company can say that, and it's that, and so that's part of the how do you live being open? Okay. Means that you are quite happy to be criticised in public by other people, with anyone in the organisation. You're happy to be held to account by other people for things.
Yeah, look, and I think that's that's driving psychological safety, right? That sort of underpins that availability, where if people can criticise you and nobody gets punished for that, then you've created a safe space. There's no fear. People get on to do their best work.
Yeah.
Fab.
Yeah.
Look, let's dive into the next one. Customer success is based on brutal honesty. Not just honesty, but brutal honesty. More extreme like that.
So really that comes down to the kind of customer relationship that we create. So our product is a product that our customers end up describing as using words like their beating heart, their central nervous system. Yeah, those kind of words. Words that suggest difficult to live without it if it's taken away. Yeah. So, and what that means is, that it's very sticky. Yeah, that the product is with them for a very long time. Yeah.
Yep.
And it means that the relationship is there for very long. Now, if you want to have a long relationship with somebody, they need to trust you and you need to be able to trust them. And that is absolutely founded on just being honest all the time. Because if you bullshit them, if they catch you in a lie at some point, then that is the point that they never trust you again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's not something you can regain. So it means that you have poisoned that water hole, that what might be a 10, 20-year customer relationship, you poison that water hole. Yeah.
But it's interesting because just the way you describe it, do you describe the relationships you have like that in the sales process on the way in?
Yeah.
Because it will attract and repel certain types of customer, I guess.
Yeah. So we work with organizations that are looking to do something that is reasonably transformative, a reasonable level of change. Yeah. So we're not selling a 20 grand widget to go and stick on a couple of laptops somewhere. It's something that is about changing the way that an organization delivers service quite often.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that means that we tend to be there as part of a program that is 50% plus organization change, 50% technology change. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that environment where you're not only trying to create a relationship with your client, but actually you're trying to create a change within that client's organization. If you are not in a place where you can be honest with them and you are saying my product can do this or can't, yeah, the last thing that you want is to be halfway through a program that the customer is relying on, and then they're realizing that you've written a check that you can't cash. And all of the unsuccessful programs that I've seen have ultimately come down to somebody not being straightforward with somebody along the way.
Yes, or the failure. There's many times when we've done projects back at Pier 1 or Rackspace where unless you've got the relationship with the client, then you can tell them that their team are the problem.
Yeah.
Then the project's doomed. I remember we did a big project for Amex and it was 6 months late, and a lot of it they thought it was all us, but it was a big chunk of it was them.
Yeah,
and nobody been able to have that straightforward conversation with them.
And that's why I include the word brutal in it, because sometimes being honest can be a deeply uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
But it is the conversation that then leads to amazing success. Yeah.
And do you have within the organization, do you have a value? Which of your values there would encompass that brutal honesty as well in terms of, radical candor? Openness, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have that culture
of being open with each other, including our clients. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, it's your competitors must just be a bit meh, right? Because most, like you take something like those two there where, culture's the number one thing, brutal honesty with customers. The rest of the world's just like a bit sort of wishy-washy, let's have some values and let's not have a real conversation with the customer in case we upset them.
You know what? It is, I mean, it's particularly challenging in India, where we're selling in India. And actually, there is not an expectation that culturally, there is less of an expectation that you are having an honest conversation as a vendor talking to a client. Than if you're in the Netherlands, for example. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is definitely some cultural difference around that we see along the way, and you have to tiptoe across it slightly. But the essence of how brutal you are in the conversation. That's the thing to reflect on. It's not the fact of it. Yeah. And the competition bit is, it's funny because they're things that are, in a way, they're hard to differentiate on. Yeah. They're hard to sell on because you go, you say working with us is going to be a different kind of relationship to a client. And they go, yeah, you'll all say that, won't you? But when we have our clients, so I did a webcast with one of our clients, Vistra, last week, who, broadly the message was, yours is the Enate program is the most successful program they've worked on for 20 years, and all of the other technology delivery that they're doing at the moment is horrific grief. And I think some of it comes down to that.
What scale is that organization that you're working for there?
So that's in terms of service delivery staff, that's about 7,500 service delivery staff. So we're rolling out. We will end up rolling out across thousands of people. Yeah. So we're about 1,000 there now, and we're rolling beyond that.
Let me interrupt the conversation just for a minute because I don't want you to miss this. My new book, Mind Your Fucking Business, is out on Amazon. If you're thinking yet another business book, I think you're wrong. This is actually a blueprint to cutting through the noise and achieving unparalleled success for you. It's based on 10 years of business coaching, spotting similar problems that people have had and coming up with real-world solutions. If it's supercharging sales, if it's mastering talent acquisition, building a powerhouse brand, cultivating a company culture that breeds success, then this book is a ticket to your transformative journey. It's filled with practical tools and frameworks that I use every single day with my clients as part of their coaching program. If you want to take your business from good to great, look, you can go to Amazon and you can buy it, or you can click the link in the show notes and head over to monkhouseandcompany.com, and I'll give you a copy. I'll send it to you today. I'll send you a copy for free. I want to help you build a fantastic business. Now, back to the conversation.
I think the next two we can probably come at the same way, because it feels as though the highest salaries in your business will be paid to somebody who studied drama, and there are 1,000 types of clever and education measures too. Feels like they might be intertwined somewhere.
Yeah, they are a bit. They are a bit. And actually, those are both things that they're conversations that I have with work placement students and stuff when we have placement students or people on placements from universities or from schools in the company.
Right.
Because it's quite interesting watching people, if you bring a GCSE student into a sales call with a COO and a CEO of a big service provider, and you ask them, what did you hear in that? And they say something like, well, you didn't talk much. And you ask them a few questions and you let them talk for 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you said some things at the end which kind of you set out what could happen next. Yeah. I said, yeah, we so you join a call like that with somebody like Joe, who's our European sales leader, who is amazing. And you go, yeah. So what we were doing, we were letting them tell their story, and we were working on we were going through their story. We let them tell their story for 50 minutes, and then we told them the next chapter of the story that might involve us. What we spent an hour doing was storytelling. What do you learn storytelling in at school? Drama. Yeah. And where do you learn to improvise off the back of somebody else's story? Drama. And who are the highest paid people in most companies? The sales organisation. And what are the sales organisation brilliant at? Storytelling.
Yeah.
Hence that bit of logic. Yeah.
Yeah. And what are there? You said you were self-taught, so you didn't do a degree in computer science.
No, so my degree was in lots of different types of engineering. So my degree was in mechanical, electrical, measurement and control, and production engineering. Right. But yeah, I was a sort of self-taught engineer, just self-taught software developer from when I was a kid, essentially, because my dad was a geek and taught me to code. So that was kind of a bit of background. Yeah.
And do you care when you're hiring about the education level of the people? I mean, you said you've got placement students in, so are you there fishing for attitude?
So the thing that I look for by the time that somebody's with me to be interviewed is trying to understand their values, trying to understand what drives them and makes them tick and want to go forward. Yeah. The level of education and the 1,000 different types of clever, if you talk to Zell, who is our head of content, Zell's primary skill, as she describes it, is explaining things in a way that a golden retriever can understand it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not something you'd get taught. How do you explain something beautifully simply? Can you remember being taught at school? No, I want less words in the answer. I want less words in the answer. Never. Yeah. Is that something that's part of education? Yeah. If you look at our support team, and you must have seen this in Rackspace, and we were a Rackspace customer for a while, and the attitude to support and service there, a huge part of that clever is about being empathetic and listening and all of those kind of things, and that's not something that we teach people to do amazingly at school, is it?
As we were talking,
fundamental.
It's innate, I think. I mean, one of the things that I used to say a lot was that we're culture heavy and process light, right? Because we didn't actually want people to follow a script. We want people to do the right thing. And, the script is for the Indian call center for the mobile phone provider, or, your tech support for Virgin Media. And there's a checklist, and it's, we wanted, people would ring up and want their problem solved because their website had crashed, and it was really annoying. And we also we gave away credits that weren't service credits. We gave goodwill credits. So you'd say, if the customer seemed upset, even though we didn't think it was our fault, the account managers could give up to a month's fees without a manager approval, because that allowed them to fix the problem and move on. And then we'd go, how do we fix that later? But that whole, we used to test using Gallup strengths. The support team at Pier 1 and IT Lab and at Pier 1, lots of those guys, maybe 75%, had learner. So they had that sort of curiosity. Oh, look, it's not written down. That's okay. They're hardwired to be happy to go find stuff out. And also responsibility, because people with responsibility feel shit if they say they'll do something and don't do it. Again, you don't need to write in the system, did they do the ticket? Did they remember to do a thing? It's just like, if you hire people with the right values, the right sort of innate motivation, and what do they get joy from? It just works.
Yeah. So you must have had that experience. It sounds like you have had that experience of trying to hire people to fit with those values. Yeah,
totally. And what I find interesting is often people will say we hire for attitude. Like they'll just say it, and then I say, how do you do that? And they go, and you realize it's like they just have this stock phrase, but they don't actually there's no process. And so I completely agree with you that if you can. You create a business in your image by, focusing on that first 40, first 50 and fixing that. But let's dive into these last two, which are lawyers go away and IT departments go away. Now, if you could add estate agents to that as a trifecta, then Like maybe that's false. Like
we're all
absolutely
totally
perfect for
happy at
most
that
people.
point, yeah.
Totally. For most people.
Yeah.
Totally. I don't know what the comedians will talk about. They'll say, "Oh, do you remember when there used to be lawyers, estate agents, and IT support people?" We could tell a joke about that. So, why do lawyers and IT departments go away with AI?
So one, so the lawyers one, I think, is close to a foregone conclusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you think about what you are paying for with a lawyer, for most lawyers, you are paying for somebody who can read and do some research with an insurance policy.
Yeah.
Because now, if the Solicitors Regulation Authority can license an AI-only law firm, and that AI-only law firm can get insurance for the services that it provides, all of these things have already happened, by the way. It's in a very narrow scope, but that is the thin end of the wedge. At that point, we've crossed that Rubicon, and actually the AI that we have right now fundamentally works in the space of language, works at its absolute best in the space of language.
Yes.
And in that ingestion of language. And for the vast majority of legal work, that's what's needed, as long as you have an insurance policy that can back it.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be the case of the scope of what AI law firm can do increases over time. Yeah, it will start. Yeah, it's starting as it is right now with very small kind of types of claim, but as confidence increases, that just grows wider. Yeah, so that's why I think that is almost a foregone conclusion, and we'd all be delighted with that, I'm sure.
Well, but also it's a sort of continuation of a trend, isn't it? Sort of lawyers into paralegals. How do you drive down the cost? How do you put it offshore? Mm-hmm. There's, if you've, it's just an extension of that sort of slope. And what about IT people?
So this is one of those that I don't think is a foregone conclusion. This is
right.
This is in the realm of what I think, and actually I'm specifically talking about within the realm of service provider organizations, which is the realm that I operate within. Yeah. Can't really talk to manufacturers. So if you think about when IT departments were created, 70s, in some companies, 80s, 90s, etc. But that's where it has flown through from. And at that time, there were almost no off-the-shelf applications. Mm-hmm. Actually, the IT and technology in companies at that point was you write stuff. People wrote applications, and those applications were then managed and supported internally. For most businesses now, that's not what happens. Yes, there are some that have all sorts of legacy crap. Can't do it. So I'm not talking about those. But for most businesses right now, mine included, you build your technology estate by buying stuff, by buying products that do what you want. And we are all very successful at buying technology products that do what we want in our day-to-day lives. I'm guessing you've ever bought a car and you're not a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And therefore, most technology, most of the need for an IT operation, which all of the stuff that relates to applications, should not exist within that role anymore. And particularly if you look at service providers, the best ones that we see, the most successful ones that we see, have a combined COO, CTO role.
Okay.
Because actually, when you're in the business of providing service, there should be no service unless it is technologically enabled. And there should be no technology unless it is in support of service delivery. Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, that as a combined role, we see really working well. So everything applications goes out into the business, into the service delivery part. There is still a role for IT in managing up to the network level and authentication. I will give them that. But
but more and more that's going into the cloud, and
exactly,
that feels like that might be agentic AI, and it might be you've got a config file and you wipe it and you restart it, and just sorts itself out.
The concept of corporate network, we don't have a corporate network. We're not huge, but we're at a stage where most people, we don't have a corporate network. You don't need one. Yeah. You need a way of authenticating that your people are accessing the things that they're meant to access. But beyond that, not really.
Okay. What 40% year-over-year growth? What proportion of that is new versus organic?
So it's about half and half. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, this is one of the things that is fantastic for us as an organization, and is, to be honest, when we went to market last year, the graph that showed here's our growth out into the future, and here's how little of it needs to come from new clients rather than just growing our imprint with the existing ones. It's a very, very powerful message. And that growth in most of our customers doesn't come from cross-selling and upselling to them. It comes from supporting them to be successful. And by supporting them to be successful, they just roll out more of Enate.
Okay.
So it's really making sure that they deliver on the intentions that they have. Yeah.
What go-to-market tips do you have for people? Are there things that are working for you that you don't mind sharing?
So things that work for us, because we have a product that can roll out across, very widely across a service provider. Things that work for us is that really radical customer success. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not a trite version of customer success. It is embedding ourselves and embedding our team with them so that we really understand what they're trying to do and the change that they're trying to make. And then we march side by side with them along that change, not with lots of prof services, but in nudges and steers to make sure that they're being successful. Yeah.
Okay.
And we developed a solutioning methodology that supports that. So it's a way of making sure that clients have got a North Star to deploy against. Yeah. And they've got some rules that allow them to stay on track, not let scope creep come in, or all sorts of things that derail change programs. We've tried to create some structure to go, here are some words that you can use to not go off course. Yeah. And that's what supports that 20%. Yeah.
And what, are they finding you these new accounts? Are you finding them? Is it, SDR team and some AEs? Are you running events?
So it's about 50-50. Yeah. Inbound stroke outbound. We've got a big account-based marketing focus. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we've gone focus. We've gone, right, there are 100 companies we're selling to.
Okay,
right now,
like that. 100 companies is just perfect.
Yeah.
You can get your head around it.
Yeah, exactly. We can go, it's not a long list. It doesn't even go over 2 pages of A4. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can get really laser focused on that. And that's probably something that, as we've really started to accelerate over the last few years, ultimately, a lot of that has come from being narrower and narrower and narrower in who we're focusing on. And the other tip around that is that most of these companies there will be a good time for them to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And if that time is not now, they're not going to buy.
Yeah.
It might be it's in 2 years' time. It might be it's in 3 years' time. It's very often that we have an organization that said no some time ago, picks up the phone and goes, actually, we're ready now. Yeah. or the thing that somebody made me do beforehand of rolling out Appian or whatever it was. Well, we tried that and it was a car crash. Can we please have another conversation? Yeah. So yeah, we're going to close a deal like that. Which I think was 5 years ago they came in and then went away, and then we're closing that at the moment. We're in contracting for it at the moment.
Fab.
So just be patient sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. And what hiring tips do you have for people? So, you're well past your, the first 40 people that you hired, but what have you done to systematize it? Because one of the things that is sort of a recurring sort of meme for me is I'm talking to founders and they say, I was in the office and I was getting a coffee and this person said to me, "Who are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm the founder and CEO. Who are you?" And whilst they chatted over both making a coffee, it occurred to them that if they had met them during the interview process, they would not be an employee in this business. And it's like, oh shit, now I need to fix recruitment and I had a full week already. What have you done so that that's not happening to you?
So there are a few things. So firstly, it's you're hiring for values, hiring for attitude. So my how we do that, I actually have an answer to how we do that. So there are a couple of particular questions which I always find totally fascinating in how people respond to them. One is, tell me something you've learned recently.
Oh yeah, searching for curiosity, learners,
and then going into, right, how did they learn it? How did they choose to learn it? And if you get, it is not rare that you get somebody that goes,
oh yeah. When I say to people, I do that all the time, and you're right. I've said, okay, what did you learn in the last month? And I've gone, okay, what about all of 2025? Okay, what about 2024? And you go, look, we're wasting our time here.
Yeah. And the second is, what you're most proud of.
Yeah.
And that, I find that the single best question that I've discovered to try and understand where somebody's soul's at. Yeah. So, because you get fascinating responses to it, and actually you have to go, apart from your kids, what you're most proud of.
Yeah.
But you will get people who are really proud of something that they've done within themselves. Yeah. So, for example, I interviewed somebody last week who...
Did you hire them?
Yes. And he didn't even internalize the question properly. And I know this because actually he talked to the recruitment agent afterwards about it. What he heard by that was, what's your biggest achievement?
Yeah.
Now, sometimes people, and he was a former Olympic weightlifter, Olympic level weightlifter. Yeah. So he internalized something that's about self-discipline and focus on his own achievement and things like that. Other times you get answers from people that are much more about, they see their success in the success they've created in others. Yeah. In something that they've done to support a team or something they've done to help somebody else. Yeah.
Yep.
And as a way of, and there are roles in your company where you want people to be really self-disciplined and really focused. And there are roles in your company where actually it's fundamental that they do not see their success as them being a fucking hero in their own right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there is a million things in between, but actually to try and actually understand where somebody's coming from and then follow up with questions around that. Yeah.
Fab.
I find those two really useful triggers.
And Kit, to sort of round it out, where do you go to, indulge your curiosity? Where do you go and learn things? What books do you read? What podcasts? What YouTube channels? What are you on?
So, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't read a lot of books. I'm quite dyslexic and I find reading really slow. But I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm going to give you two podcasts and then I'll think about a YouTube channel or so podcasts I'm going to give you are 13 Minutes to the Moon, which is It's a BBC World Service podcast.
Yeah.
That is about the Apollo landings. But it is also about everything that you need to know about how to manage an operation and how to manage an operation that's trying to do something that nobody knows how to do. Second podcast I'd give you is Mindscape by Sean Carroll.
Okay.
So Sean Carroll is a physicist. He's but he also works at the an institute in the US that name will come to me in a second. But the podcast is about bringing in people from all sorts of different, quite challenging academic fields. And just asking them about what their research is, whether it's in biology or neuroscience or AI or physics or all sorts of areas. But it's really interesting, just the diversity. Yeah. And it's the Santa Fe Institute, which is an interdisciplinary institute in the US. Properly interesting guy. And a YouTube channel. This is going to be totally off-piste, but Chris Harbour Natural Building. I'd say go and watch that. It's Chris with a K. He's a guy that I followed when I wanted to do some roundwood timber framing in my garden. And actually, as somebody to go, actually, look, here is a way that you can create a life that is, and a business that is so beautifully centered on something that he loves. He's a great example of that.
Oh, Kit, that's absolutely brilliant. I'll go and have a look at those. Fab.
No worries.
It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today. Thank you indeed for coming on, and what a great journey that you're on. Thanks for sharing all of this. Brilliant.
Pleasure. Good to talk to you.
Next time on Curious Leadership.
When you've run something yourself for 9 years, you need to go and hire a CEO that not only is going to be good enough to take the business on, but also get them through the next exit, which is a really important part of the investment as well. I just couldn't deal with this idea that my competitors were out there getting more opportunities than I was. So for me, it was about being everywhere and creating this brand that Andrew was almost like 10 people at the same time.
You are often the risky candidate, you're batting against much bigger companies. And so the person on the other side's got to take a risk. And they're not going to take a risk if you send in the junior salesperson. They're going to take a risk if you turn up. And you because they're looking at you going, if I pick you, my job's on the line.
But if you want to really accelerate growth and you want to take every opportunity that's available within the sector you're in, for me, you just have to